the purpose of our lives is to create a body of work that we're proud of. And the definition of a body of work is everything that you create, contribute, affect, and impact throughout the course of your life.
Lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a here's somebody who believes you. And let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
Welcome to The Creator's Journey. I'm your host, Charles Gupton. In each show, I'll talk with creative leaders who face the same fears and obstacles we all face. What makes these folks effective are the processes they've developed that allow them to push through the darkness to consistently ship their work and make a difference. If you've ever felt that your fears and insecurities are getting the best of you, just know that you're not alone. Every creator who works from the heart faces the same challenges. I would love for you to join our community at thecreatorsjourney.com for ideas and inspiration that will bring light and direction to your journey.
Here's the key to my front door. You got a pillow if you lost yours. You got a seat at my table. You got a home. Here's somebody who believes you. Let truth remind you. You've always got a place to go to. You got a home.
Although I just met Pam Slim for the first time when she was in Raleigh recently for a stop on her Indispensible Community Tour, I've been following her writing for several years, including reading her book, Body of Work, when it came out in 2014. Pam's blog and her first book, Escape from Cubicle Nation, came out of her work as a consultant to large corporations such as Hewlett-Packard, Schwab and Cisco Systems, where she worked with thousands of employees, managers, and executives. Through the years, she has coached thousands of budding entrepreneurs in businesses ranging from martial arts studios to software startups, and is here today to encourage creative leaders to focus on processes that will build a more cohesive and impactful body of work. Welcome, Pam.
Thanks so much for having me.
It's been a delight. Since meeting you, I just became even that much more enamored of you and the work and the great things that you're doing across this great land. So appreciate that. Since you're just settling down from months of being on the road from your community tour, I'm going to assume you've had some time to think about people you'd like to have around you as you travel. So I'll start out with a question of, if you had to make another road trip, this time driving cross-country coast to coast, but could only take two non-family people with you for conversation and company, who would you ask and why?
Ooh, non-family, because I would definitely bring my family the next time around.
I knew that.
But if it's not family, it's probably my best friend, Desiree, I think. She actually came with me on 3 legs of the trip. So she came to the Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver workshops. I did a 25 city tour where I was teaching workshops everywhere, and we had so much fun writing trains and talking about ideas. I actually prefer just to have a road trip probably with one other person. I think it would get a little bit chaotic with more than one. So is that okay to only choose one person?
It's your road trip.
It would be like Oprah and Gail, hitting the road together.
There you go. Well, the foundation of that tour, at least as I understood it, was your belief that a person cannot have their greatest impact without building and maintaining a strong community. Talk a little bit about the tour and some of the insights that you brought away from it, and maybe a story or two from people who participated about how having a solid community has made a difference in their impact.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. One idea set tends to breed the next. And that's, I think, what I found when I wrote Body of Work and began to get the word out about that book, essentially it being a framework in thinking of as individuals, how do we really think about our careers in a way that's cohesive, that respects all aspects of our lives. And the metaphor that I came up with was really thinking that the purpose of our lives is to create a body of work that we're proud of. And the definition of a body of work is everything that you create, contribute, affect, and impact throughout the course of your life. So one piece, of course, as individuals is getting very clear about what do we want to create? What do we want to impact? What kinds of problems do we want to solve? What form should that take? What work mode should that take? So is it time for a big role working in an organization? Do you want to work for yourself? Is this, coming year the year that you want to write a book? And so getting clarity on a personal level is really, really important. And then what I find naturally follows as then you begin to do the work and to bring it out in the world, that whenever you're trying to address some of these bigger issues, I know for me, one of the things that drove me to want to do the community tour was the belief that I really want economic well-being for all. I see pockets of, segments of society, different regions of the United States and of the world that are doing really well. But then I also see a lot of people who are kind of left out of that equation. I've done so much hands-on work with entrepreneurs that I see a lot of people who don't yet have the swing of it and being able to have a successful and viable business. So
right.
What I wanted to do, through the tour was to begin to introduce a way of thinking, because whenever you're trying to address bigger issues, there are always more people that can help, right? And working with entrepreneurs, or if for anybody who's ever launched a book, one of the first things you try to figure out is who else would be interested in this. And to figure that out, or, if you're trying to find customers, where can I find people who would be ideal customers? And that always, in my experience, is in a framework of understanding other people who are interested in similar issues and challenges, some of which you might traditionally think about as competitors, although I don't really look at it that way. And
right.
within that framework, really begin to do the work of, connecting with others. So the whole idea of community is, first of all, we are in community whether we like it or not. My grandfather, who was by profession, he was the treasurer of the Western Conference of the Methodist Church. That was his job for many years in Northern California. He was in Mill Valley, California, but he wrote a really beautiful piece that actually was read at his funeral many years ago, and it was all about being a steward of the earth. And he recognized that everything about his daily experience, when he would take the bus into San Francisco and cross the Golden Gate Bridge on the bus, and he would say, nothing in my life is mine alone. I put my life in the hands of the bus driver, as I'm going to work. I put, he or she puts their hands in the mechanic, who's worked on to make sure the bus was okay. I appreciate the farmers who have done their work in order to bring food to my table. And I really love that philosophy that he had, and he certainly taught me a lot about where, we all really do need each other. We're all really interdependent. So depending upon who you are and what you want to build, you do need to be very strategic about who it is that you're connecting with. And what did on the tour was create a framework for kind of 8 different components that you can look at as you're building a network and building a community. The one thing I think that might scare people sometimes, who might maybe be a little bit more introverted by nature, they like a smaller wingspan of people. They don't necessarily want to have 10,000 people in their community. Maybe they want to have 10 people.
Hello.
Hello, I resonate. Yeah. So, from that perspective, to me, it's almost more important that you are really strategic in thinking about, for the kind of work that you want to do in the world. And we talked about that, right? When I was in Raleigh, then who are the people that you should be spending time with, right? Where are they? And how can you be really clear about what you're contributing to that community in order to be a valued member?
One of the things that I've appreciated learning and observing about your interaction with people especially on Facebook, is that you are not only connected with a lot of people, and a lot of very influential people as I view them, but it's not just, from my observation, a professional connection of convenience. There seems to be a deep, resonant relationship with the people that you're connected with, or at least you attempt to make it so. And some of the way that you interact, or at least you interact there, is both professional and personal, and it blends so nicely. But you're supportive of people, and your community is supportive of you in a way that that I don't see in social media very often at all. And I admire that and appreciate that. And it seems to be a very genuine sense of who you are and comes out of that.
I appreciate that. It's definitely, there's all kinds of choices that we can make based on our personality, and who we are and what the right blend is of personal and professional. It's the part of what you can see, and it's neat, right? From the outside, you recognize certain components of that, right? Which are kind of calling out personal values for me. The people who I admire in business, and who I'm really, spend time building connections with, are people who not only have really great insight to help me and my clients do what we need to do, but people who also share similar values, who I trust. If I don't have that connection, then we probably won't be friends on Facebook. Doesn't mean I'd be mean to the person. It doesn't mean I wouldn't, totally have a conversation with them at a conference, or, I'm always have a huge value on valuing everybody, right? All their different perspectives. But in terms of people who I really do want to have a deeper relationship with, that are connected to my ecosystem, which is the term that I use, right? People who are other, influential people who have amazing insight and knowledge and guidance and wisdom for people who I care about, and I want to serve through my business. If they are not the kind of person who I would be able to have a personal relationship with, they're probably not going to be, you won't see them on a social platform. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
It's like, because I can't, I've tried before, and I can't just operate on one level. Like if I have a business relationship with somebody where we never talk about anything to do with our personal life, it's just not as fulfilling and rewarding. To me, that's the interesting thing.
I get it.
So that's my own personal choice about it. And other people have a very clear distinction, which works very well with them, where they don't really mix their business and their personal life.
Yeah, ours is absolutely enmeshed, and I can't sometimes tell where one begins, overlaps, and something else is happening there. So I very much get it, which is why I admire the way that you interact, because it really is genuine. I remember one of your interactions or needs, I guess about a month ago, is your daughter was doing a report and got North Dakota, as I remember, as a project. So you reached out to your community to meet somebody in Fargo, and had this great outpouring, introductions. It went well for your daughter, but it just showed me the sense of community that you have worked to establish that was helpful kind of all around. And I just smiled big when I saw that.
Well, I did too. I mean, on the tour, one of the case studies that I used about a community which is so misunderstood and underreported and everything is Fargo, North Dakota. I've been there a couple times. I spoke at TEDx Fargo, and I also attended a conference, the Misfit conference there. And as I shared in the live workshops across the country, there's so many amazing things that are happening in that city in terms of really cutting edge economic development, all kinds of different sectors of the city who are coming together, city planners and the Arts Commission and the entrepreneurial community, and just amazing things that are happening there. And so I have this deep affection for the city. And so my daughter, who is in third grade, had to do a report on a state, and I just cracked up when she got North Dakota. So I thought, hey, I would love it if she could interview the mayor, because I told her a little story. I haven't shared this with other people, but I told her this after she interviewed him. But when I was an exchange student in Switzerland in high school, my senior year of high school, I was an exchange student in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. And I had to do a report on U.S.-Swiss relations for my U.S. history class, because I still had a couple credits to finish for my U.S. high school. All my classes I did in Switzerland were all in French, which was challenging, right? Chemistry, philosophy, all in French.
Oh, my word.
That was good. I learned it very well. But I had to do this one report, and I thought, I don't want to go to the library and do all this research. Why don't I just reach out to the ambassador from the U.S. to Switzerland and see if I can interview him? And it was a Cabot Lodge, which is a very well-known, family and diplomatic circles. And so I wrote a letter. That was before the internet. And I wrote a letter